What's up, fam? Welcome to Priest Guide. People asked me to do this one for quite a while, so here we are. Speaking of people, thank you guys a lot for all your support on YouTube and in-game. Today I have a good and old friend of mine that comes from Bulgaria. His in-game name is Butanfire or Holy Chase. Butan mastered the priest class. He's been playing one for over 15 years, approximately, so I couldn't think of no one else to guide you other than him, cause honestly, I have no idea about priests, and I just don't like giving fake or incorrect informations. Now, I'll make timestamps for this video, because it will be a very long one, something like deep dive, so you guys feel free to navigate to whatever part you are interested in the most. That being said, let's just jump straight to it. Hey Butan.
Hey man, thanks for having me. So yeah, we'll be going over the priest as a class, different talents, builds, rotations.
Yeah, yes.
So where should we start?
We are starting at what's the best race for priests now when it comes to CC2. When CC2 came out, we all know that dwarves used to be like best race because of fear ward, but now every race can cast fear wards. So what do you think? What's the best race for new people that are making priest on Turtle WoW?
So yeah, with the CC2 changes, basically all priests have fear ward, which is super essential for raids. To put fear wards on tanks and navigate through fights. So, in regards to the race, you should consider based on the spec you want to play, if you want to min-max. An interesting race is the Night Elf, I would say. They added the bows to the priest, so the bow allows you to shoot arrows and use searing arrow, which is really lore accurate, lore friendly. But I would say it really depends. So if you want to go, for example, as a shadow priest, I would say the undead have devouring plague, which is really good for your DPS rotation. But any race is viable for every class. Now that you don't have this restriction on the fear wards, basically you can use every race for everything. I personally use human because of the spirit bonus. Because priests benefit a lot from spirit, from 2 talents, which we'll go over. The human ratio gives you 2 crit, which is really good for both DPS and healing. Yeah, I mean, I think all the classes fit well together with the races. Just in case you want to, go very for a specific build and class, you want to top the meters and basically maximize your output, then yeah, depending on your spec.
So we have night elves, we have humans, and we have undeads. What about trolls?
Trolls, I think they're also good. I think their ratio was that gives you haste.
Exactly.
Now haste is not ideal for priests because they don't benefit the same way as affliction warlocks or K mages. But haste can help your rotation for healing or maybe for smite. Maybe it's not the best, but I would say it's
decent,
still viable.
Decent. Yeah.
Yeah, every race basically is playable with the classes.
Alright. Now that we covered the races, tell me about leveling build, Bhutan. What's the fastest way to level up Priest on Turtle WoW? What spec should people use? And let's talk about rotation as well.
Sure. So I've seen that question a lot on the Turtle WoW Discord channel. People are really interested how the best way they can take a talent build and help them during the leveling process. So I'll split the question in a few parts. First is about the talents. So no matter which spec you want to go for and level, you always want 5 points in Spirit Tap. Um, so Spirit Tap gives you mana regeneration and bonus to Spirit, which basically you need during leveling because it's very difficult. You kill a mob, you run out of mana, and then all over again. Spirit Tap kind of allows you to reduce that time, which you need to take to during leveling. It's extremely important, and I would say the first 5 levels, starting from level 10, is to go Spirit Tap. Then really depends on your playstyle and how you want to play. So no matter which spec, even if you're Shadow or Discipline, you can still heal with the Priest. Yes, it's probably not maximized, min-maxed, but during leveling in dungeons, you can basically heal with every talent tree.
Exactly.
So depending on what you want to do, you can go Shadow, you can go Smite, Discipline. You can even level as a healer. Leveling as a healer is slower because your damage spells won't be that strong, but still you have a lot of sustain. So you kind of compensating survival for damage, which basically increases your leveling experience, the time you need to level, which kind of brings me to the next topic is how best to level to 60.
Yeah.
So leveling to 60 is the best combination is quests and dungeons, unless you're leveling an out where you want to mob tag and basically power level your out. I would say it's a combination of quests and dungeons because and specifically dungeon quests, which are elites, killing elites gives a lot of experience. So using the dungeon finder, finding groups on Turtle WoW is kind of the best experience because you also can get items,
I
right?
mean the healers are always needed.
True, true. So
Yeah.
priests can easily find groups. Yes, sometimes priests just want to DPS, but sometimes sacrificing for the greater good. Just
Exactly.
healing. You don't need to go in a healing spec is kind of very useful for dungeons. Um, so we can review some talent builds for leveling. So let's say you want to go as Shadow.
So
So
uh,
yeah,
so sorry for interruption.
no
If
problem.
if you were leveling all
Yeah,
over again, what would you pick up? Let's mark that one as a
okay.
leveling build. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm more of a fan of the Smite Priest and Discipline. So I would do it with Smite and Discipline again. Um, I would start with 5 points in Spirit Tap. Afterwards, I would go for one specialization because a big part of your rotation during leveling is using the wand. The wand is very powerful for priest during leveling and getting a wand early. Leveling the wand skill level is very important because once you level up, you restore mana on the wand hits, um, and wand specialization increases your chance to hit with wands, so you don't miss. You see on the top tip the bow. which is basically for the elves because they can use a bow.
So this is only for high elves.
Yeah, they have that ratio
Oh,
with the
interesting.
post.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
it does not matter which spec you want to go and level. You need to start with Spirit Tap and Wand specialization. This is your first 7 talents when you level. It's extremely important to follow this route in order to have an easy time leveling. And from there on, you can decide which spec you want to start.
All right. In your opinion, what will be the best one?
So, for me, that would be Discipline Priest, which relies on Smite. So, you would go Mental Agility, 5 out of 5. This reduces the mana cost of your offensive, Holy, and Discipline spells, meaning Smite, Holy Nova, Holy Fire, but also bear in mind instant cast spells. That means any spell that is instant. So, for example, that would be Dispel Magic. That would be all the buffs, Divine Spirit, Fade, Fear Ward.
Wow.
Any
Stamina
skill
also.
that is
Yeah.
instant has the mana cost reduction. That applies to Shadow Word Pain as well. So it's very important to have this as a mana reduction skill to help you during leveling, questing, dungeon. So focus 5 points in mental agility next. After that, you have a few options. You can go Piercing Light to basically increase your chance to hit with your Smite or Holy Fire spells. You can also go Improved Power Word Fortitude to gain more stamina from your Fortitude buff. The order does not matter. I would say you can put 1 point in Piercing Light because most of the time when you level, you would want to kind of have this 2 to 3 level difference of the mobs if you go with mobs that are 5 levels or higher, those which are red, they're a bit more difficult to kill because your spells will get resisted, your attacks will get resisted, you receive more damage. So you want to kind of kill, white, green mobs, yellow as well, but going for red can be a bit more difficult. It's not impossible, but you just have to have experience with the game in order to win the fight against more difficult mobs. So I would say at least 1 point in Piercing Light can mitigate that resistance of your spells, because if the mob is higher level than you, then the chance to miss your spells against those mobs increases. You can go max Piercing Light as well. You can go 1 point. You can level it later. But
Yeah.
for sure you need it during leveling. Fortitude just gives you more stamina from your buff, so it's really good.
30%.
Which
30% is 30%
30%,
is
yeah. So
yeah.
for example, if the buff gives 30 stamina, this will be another 10 stamina on top, which is really good.
Really nice, yeah.
So once you unlock the third row of skills, I would go Inner Focus first, because this is basically a mana cost reduction. So Inner Focus is a 5-minute cooldown, and you start with Inner Focus and then Holy Fire, and that basically reduces the cost of that spell by 100% and increases the crit by 25% on that spell that you use. So you have to be careful. When you use Inner Focus, the next spell you cast will be reduced by 100% mana. So you could use it every fight, every boss fight, essentially, if you're in a dungeon, and every few trash packs that you kill. So use it effectively so that you can cast the highest rank spell when activating inner focus.
Exactly, to get the most benefit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Makes
And
sense.
it's really useful when you run out of mana, you want to put a heal or a damaging spell, you pop inner focus and then you cast the spell. So it's a really good heal burn. After that, I would say it's either meditation or inner fire. So inner fire basically gives you armor and spell power. It gives you spell damage, not healing, only spell damage. So I would say inner fire is really good for damage. Meditation is for mana regen. So depending whether you want more mana regen or more damage, you would prioritize either of those.
What would you pick?
I would pick inner fire because it's a buff that you need to keep up all the time. Also, you need to know that the inner fire has 10 charges. So basically, if you get hit 10 times by mobs, the buff will drop, so you need to recast it. So increasing the effectiveness of that one is really good for leveling.
Also 30%, nice.
Also
Yeah.
after 60. Yeah. After that, you can go meditation. And then we unlock the 4th level of discipline. Focus, if you continue discipline and doing smite, purifying flames is your vital tool for doing damage as a smite priest, because you guarantee 100% chance to increase your holy damage by 12% for 10 seconds. That means your rotation starts as holy fire and then cast smite. After you pick purifying flames, go for searing light and go 3 points there, because this can guarantee 100% chance to have an instant smite cast and also costs 20% less mana. So this is like a buff. It has a 5-second internal cooldown. That means if you proc it, it cannot be procced in the next 5 seconds. This change was done by the devs so that you don't have a proc from a proc from a proc. So it's a very essential tool to have, but you also have to be conscious how it works and how to use it.
And when to use it, exactly.
Yeah. So after you level these two, you go for Enlighten first. So Enlighten is a very powerful spell and buff, which basically allows you almost any spell you cast has a chance to proc this effect. And the proc effect is increasing your damage and healing by 10%. At the cost at 4% of your health, which is relatively small, but it's a very important damage and healing buff. You'll see a lot of healing as we go through the other talents builds. Almost every build wants to use Enlighten, maybe except Shadow. You can cast it on another party member or target in the raid, and that means if you proc it, you get a 10% damage and healing, and the other target gets a 10% damage and healing. So this is one of the main powerful spells for smite priests, is buffing others. You can also cast it on yourself. In that case, the bonus is 15%, but just for you. So when you're leveling, you'll probably use it just on yourself. When you're doing a raid or a dungeon, you can use it on another caster or a paladin, because they use consecrated spells as well. So once you have Enlighten, go mental strength. It increases your intellect and casting speed, so that means more mana. And after that, you go Force of Will, 5 points, which increases your spell damage and critical strike.
Wow, more spell damage.
Yeah, more power. Also increases the damage absorbed from your power word shield. So, as part of the rotation, when you're leveling or using or in dungeons even, it's a nice buff to the shield.
Nice.
And Chastise is also a very powerful spell. So you can use it on the target mob or boss. It deals damage. It has a good scaling as well. So when you cast it on a mob, if you're able to CC the mob, basically this will cause the mob to be disoriented, basically like a TC, like a stun for
Like
2 seconds.
blind, yeah, rogues
Like a blind,
yeah.
yeah. You can use it on yourself, and this way you increase your attack or casting speed, but you will take damage if you cast it on yourself or on a party member to increase their attack or casting speed. But you can use it only if you have 80% health or above. Otherwise, on yourself. Otherwise, you cannot use it on yourself or a party member. You can always use it offensively. I would say during leveling or dungeoning, use it offensively. It's a nice instant and low mana cost spell that deals damage and basically gives you 2 second casting time if the mob is coming towards you, right? And it can also proc Searing Light if it crits.
Okay.
With that, your
Yeah.
discipline tree is kind of ready. Then
now
you can go.
Now we are level 45. Now we are level
Yeah.
45, and then
And at that point, I would go Holy Focus. Basically, this allows you to avoid interruption while casting. It's really powerful during leveling. Then you go Divinity, which increases your crit chance. After that, you want to go Divine Fury. Actually, I would go 3 points in Divinity and then go 5 points into Divine Fury, because it reduces the casting time of Smite and Holy Fire and your heals
by 0.5 seconds.
by
That's
0.5
huge. Yeah.
at 5 out of 5. Picking Holy Nova is good for AoE damage and healing. So if you're in a party, this basically is really good for trash. Killing trash mobs is basically your AoE spell as Smite, and it also heals, so it has a double effect. It's really good. Going then Holy Reach and Divinity. Again, whichever you decide, doesn't matter at that point. You're almost close to 60. This is kind of the final outlook. How it will
Really
work.
nice, amazing one. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, you can do some variations. Some people want to go Divine Fury to reduce the casting smite, to reduce the casting time of smite. You can also do it like this. So basically, after getting Enlighten, you go 2 points into Holy Focus, 3 in Divinity, maxing Divine Fury, and then you can go Holy Nova just to have a AoE spell, and then going in the Discipline tree. It really depends what you want to aim for. I would say during leveling, maybe it's not that important, but once we go in the talent trees for Smite, the Divine Fury is essential one to have in your toolkit for talents.
Okay.
So the leveling spec looks like this. So your rotation as part of
guys,
this.
over here we are now level 60, 31, 15, 5. Now we will cover rotation of priest, leveling priest. Can you?
So this will be during leveling. So you would want to start as Smite with Holy Fire to proc your purifying flames. Then you cast one Smite, Shadow Word Pain, and then you can put a shield on yourself and basically use wand against the mob. with this rotation, you can even kill elites. I've done some soloing of elites with this rotation. It's really powerful to keep dots, because Holy Fire also leaves a dot on the mob, and using Shadow Word Bane is another dot. So as long as you keep yourself alive, you can heal yourself with a flash heal, with a normal heal. You just dot the mob, sustain, and wand the mob. That's pretty much the rotation of Priest.
Alright. Perfect. Bhutan, now that we covered leveling, build, and rotation, let's talk about discipline priests. How reliable they are, what talents people should use, and what will be rotation of discipline priest. Also, can a discipline priest heal on Turtle WoW, or is it only for DPS?
So the main focus of the discipline priest is to spam smite.
Exactly.
So they can heal. It's not as efficient as going a bit deeper into holy, but I would say they're pretty close in what you can do as healing. So now I'm gonna go first over the talent build for smite, and then we can go over some overview and discussion on smite priest and how it works in Turtle WoW.
Alright.
So again, similar to the leveling tree, we go 5 mental agility, 3 piercing light. I would go silent resolve 5 out of 5, because smite can really
do some serious amount of damage. Yes.
It can do a serious amount of damage, and it can basically snap threat in the first few seconds. If the tank doesn't have a good threat build, basically you can snap threat very fast. So having silent resolve really gives you this peace of mind that you won't pull threat on pull, and during your rotation.
Exactly.
Afterwards, you need to go inner fire for the spell power buff. Inner focus, this is how you're gonna start your rotation with Holy Fire. Puring Flying Flames, Searing Light is a main tool, Enlighten, Mental Strength, Force of Will, Chastise. You want 5 points into Divinity, 5 in Divine Fury, Holy Reach, Holy Nova, Holy Focus, and 5 in Spiritual Guidance. This is kinda how the optimal smite discipline priest build looks like for maximizing damage.
Perfect. Yeah.
You could also go 2 points in silent resolve and 3 points in meditation for a bit of a mana regeneration, but it really depends how much damage you can deal and whether you have threat issues, right? So it kind of depends. I've used meditation for quite some time, but now that I'm really geared, I really need the threat reduction. So kind of depends on your gear.
Starting priests that are going for pre-raid gear, starting discipline priests that are going for pre-raid best in slot, that are doing molten core, BWL, etc., can go for other one. What was the name of meditation? Right, meditation. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, allows you to regen mana.
Yes.
And because, as I said, spirit is very beneficial for priests, because your spiritual guidance increases your spell damage and healing as a percentage of your spirit. And meditation is also influenced by your spirit, because your mana regeneration is determined by your spirit.
So they could go 3 out of 5 points over there, and then when they get some gear, they could fill the talent silent resolve 5 out of 5. Yeah.
Well, you kind of have to know your power level, and there are ways to kind of mitigate the snap threat at pull, but sometimes you cannot control your crits, and sometimes when you um, have a few Searing Light procs, you can get ahead with threat very fast. Yeah, it's always good to have Salvation or some um, or Tranquility Totem if you don't have a Paladin in your group to basically reduce your threat output.
Yeah.
And hopefully the tank can build up threat so you don't have
One,
these
one
threat
question.
issues.
Does it stacks with what was the name? Blessing of Salvation?
So I think it stacks, but you would mostly use shamans in melee groups for Wind Fury. Very rarely you'll have enough shamans to put in caster groups for threat reductions. If we go min max, you would want to have ATS casters in your group. As a smite priest, you want to have a paladin with Sanctify Aura, which gives 10% damage. So depending on your raid composition or party composition, I would say Tranquil Totems are kind of on the lower part of your priority in the party group.
Alright, so that's it, guys. Discipline Priest, I mean Smite Priests, 31-20-0. And we covered rotation. We covered rotation also, Bhutan, right?
So the rotation for Smite is a bit different than from the leveling. You start with Inner Focus Holy Fire, then you start spamming Smite, and you just have to keep the buff from Holy Fire up at all times, and just spam Smite. If you have the mana, you can weave in a Shadow Word Pain for more DPS, but you probably wouldn't have the mana pool to sustain that rotation. Chastise is also an instant cast, which you can add offensively to do DPS, or you can use it on a party member to increase their speed. But as a starting Smite Discipline Priest, I would start with Purifying Flames, then Chastise, get a Searing Light proc, and cast Smite, because the Chastise cooldown is 40 seconds, so you would want to use it as early as possible offensively to do damage, because it's a low mana cost, it can proc your Searing Light, and it has a good spell scaling, so it will deal good damage.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty much the Smite Priest rotation. Of course, there are some caveats if you want to deep dive, but mainly it's
That will be min
keeping.
maxing. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be basically keeping Purifying Flames at all times. How can you guarantee that? Well, it's a 3-second cast when you have Divine Fury on, right? So the buff is 10 seconds. So once you cast it, you have 10 seconds to spam Smite, which is 2 seconds cast time. If you get a Searing Light proc, that's 1 global cooldown, which is 1 second. So you would be able to cast 3 to maybe 4 smites, and then you have to cast Holy Fire again. Try to cast a Holy Fire when you have 3 seconds remaining on your Purifying Flames buff, so that you kind of snapshot the Purifying Flames buff on your Holy Fire, and keeping the dot on the mob, and also keeping this buff all times. So Holy Fire is a very important spell in your Smite Priest rotation.
Alright. Perfect. Now that we covered Smite Priest build and rotation, can we go for Holy, please? Holy Priests.
Sure. So for Holy Priests, you want to go Improved Renew. 3 points Renew is a very effective healing over time spell. I generally downrank Renew to rank 4, so I can benefit from the spell scaling. Unless it's a heavy hit, kind of heavy duration fight, I would use max rank. Holy Focus is good to avoid interruption, but I would say you can also ignore it and go
Yeah,
divinity.
exactly, because it doesn't make any sense to put any points in Holy Focus, because in raids, nothing
Yeah,
should hit you. You know what I mean?
yeah, but I mean, it depends on playstyle what you want.
But then
We go
again, there are some fights like AOE damage from bosses, all that kind of crap.
exactly.
So yeah, it
But
makes sense.
I will. You would see high-end holy priests do not use holy focus.
Yeah.
They'll prefer to put the points in other talents. So divine fury. Here you want inspiration to give bonus armor when your heals crit. You want spiritual guidance again because it increases your healing percentage based on your spirit. You want improved healing to reduce the mana cost of your healing spells. You want Spirit of Redemption and 5 spiritual healing. Now this is where we have two branches of holy builds. Some go for Proclaim Champion. It's a very good mana sustain. So I would say holy priests which do not have a good mana regeneration or a good mana pool, use Proclaim Champion on your tank because it returns you mana based on the damage taken by the tank, your champion. You can also buff him with a few buffs. This Turtle Wall implementation, it's really good. There are a few buffs. One of them is your tank will get increased healing from your healing spells by 10%. So I would say early, early, um, early, not so geared
Early
healing
in the game.
priests
Yeah.
should take it. Then you go mental agility, 5 points, 2 points into improved word fortitude against stamina buffs. Unbreakable will is very important for healing priests because they can resist silences, stuns, and fears. Then you want meditation for your mana regeneration. Inner focus, again, you can use for healing. And you can use power word shield. You can put I don't know, spell warding is a good one to reduce damage. You can put holy reach. You can put on swift recovery. The remaining point. I wouldn't recommend one specialization, but maybe for earlier holy priest because basically this means you will use want against the target or boss instead of healing, right?
Exactly.
Uh, there are situations where you can kind of regen mana in the want, but uh, mostly you would prefer to heal instead of wanting the boss. But in any case, I would say early to mid gear holy priests maybe should have one specialization for the mana regen. You can just remove one point from power word shield and just put it in one specialization. So this is the early to mid geared holy priests. The ones that are more geared, they want to go for enlighten because this basically buffs a caster or another healer, and you
Okay.
basically get increased healing by 10%.
Can we do that?
Uh,
Can we do
yeah,
that also?
so that one would look like similar to what we had with Unbreakable Will, meditation, inner focus, forward shield. Um, you can put silent resolve, or maybe blessed concentration. This is a flexible point. You can put wand. Really, it doesn't really matter where you will put it, and then enlighten. This will kind of your high-end holy
This is
healer
Naxxramas,
build.
Karazhan 40, etc., etc. Right?
Yeah, there are priests which go for spell warding, basically to buff their survival, uh, instead of having 5 points in divinity, you would have 2 points in divinity and 3 points in spell warding, because it gives you more survival for those Naxxramas and Kara 40 raids, where the raid damage and you taking damage is reduced. So it gives you more survival, right? Again, when we're talking talents, there people might have different preference on how they want to play the game, how they want to heal or deal damage, but this is kind of a staple.
So we have 2130. What's downranking, Bhutan? How do you heal? What's the rotation of a healer? I mean, I know there is what was the name of that add-on, heal bot or something like that. So yeah, it helps a lot with raid frames, etc., etc. But what will be rotation like for you? Downranking spells and all that kind of things.
Okay, so again, there are a few branches here of how you can heal effectively as a priest. So, depending on your gear, you could, if you are tier 2, 8 out of 8, you basically want to use greater heal as much as possible. The talent bonus of the tier 2 priest healer set, 8 out of 8, gives your greater heal a renew effect on your target, which means you're basically doing 2 healing spells with 1 healing spell.
At the same time, yes.
At the same time. Also, that effect takes the improved renew talent, so it's basically a double dip. Also, you can cast renew and it stacks with that tier 2 proc. So that's a really powerful. This is the build. I'm kind of going with the healing. I'm 8 out of 8 tier 2. And you would use greater heal rank 1 for that, because it's downranking, which I'll cover in a few seconds, is basically allowing you to cast effective healing with the least mana used. So you would use greater heal on the tank or any targets that have maybe 20 or 30% health lost. If someone is very low, you would use flash heal or a shield, power word shield, to instantly save them. And after you cast a healing spell, always try to put a renew on the target. So for example, you use rank 1 greater heal on your target, or heal, and after the cast finishes, you cast a renew rank 4. And this is kind of a, you heal someone and you kind of give him a healing
exactly
dot to keep
I
him
understand.
alive.
Yeah.
But if someone is very low, greater heal is a 2.5 second cast. So sometimes if you just put a big heal on someone who is very low, he can die by the time you pull off your cast. So it really depends on the situation, because sometimes a flash heal can really save someone when he's very low. It really depends on your knowledge of the fight, how much damage a target will take, how much time you have to save him, having a good view on the fight. If someone is standing in the void zone on 4 horsemen on Blamo, you cannot save him, right? He'll die. Doesn't matter what heal you're going to cast on him. So it really depends on the situation, what heal you would use at the right time, and that kind of determines how good of a healer you are. Is basically having a good optics on the fight, on the people, to know where they are standing. Maybe they're standing in fire. When you have fights in Molten Core, on the dog. That's the second boss.
Yeah.
So if people are standing in fire, you kind of see their health dropping. You can also see their bars, and you can kind of determine, whether you want to go for a slower heal or a faster heal. Some fights just require healers to react immediately. Some other effects give you time to cast an effective lower mana cost heal, which takes longer time to cast. Which brings me to the downranking. Um, what does downranking mean? So the original classic developers in Blizzard, they added this spell scaling and coefficiency for spells, which basically means the slower your spell is cast, something like a greater heal, the bigger coefficiency gains from your spell power and healing power. So for example, if you have 100 healing power, your greater heal will heal 100 health more, but the flash heal will heal maybe for only 30 healing more. So this spell coefficiency allows you to downrank a max rank spell to a low rank. For example, that's why I'm giving the greater heal rank 1 as the example, is because the greater heal rank 1 has the same spell coefficiency as greater rank heal 5. So you're basically abusing the big amounts of healing power you have to cast a lower rank spell, utilizing your healing power and wasting less mana. So downranking means casting a lower rank spell for less mana so that you can sustain more during the fight and utilize the high amounts of spell damage or healing power you have with your gear, buffs and consumables in order to achieve the same effect. So basically, a rank 1 greater heal with a good amount of healing power can heal the same amount as the base rank 5 greater heal. So that's what downranking and spell coefficiency means in the game.
That's a little bit of min-maxing over there, but
it's basically
yeah.
game knowledge, how the game works, right?
True, true.
Things like dots, they also have full 100% spell coefficiency because the damage is distributed over time.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah,
good to know. Good to know.
Since you asked.
Yeah. Okay, now we have 21:30. We covered rotation for holy priests, guys. It's time to move on shadow priests. Let's cover talents for shadow priests and let's talk about rotation. Mutan.
Okay, so for shadow, you would go spirit tab because there's no better option. Using blackout in dungeons and raids.
PvP. Blackout is PvP.
Blackout is PvP, yes. Yeah. You don't want to use it in dungeons and raids. An example I can give is the Echo of Medivh fight in Kara 40. Blackout can count as interrupt to Echo of Medivh, and that will basically increase his casts on other spells. So that's basically, you're going to grief your raid if you have blackout.
That's a no-go.
That's a no-go. So in raids you want Spirit Tap. Improve Shadow Word Pain, Shadow Focus, 5 out of 5. This is basically 10 spell hit for Shadow.
Wow, that's huge.
That's a lot. Shadow Word Pain, increase the duration, you want that. Improved Mind Blast, you can go 4 spells for 4 points if you want to kind of have the perfect rotation with Mind Flay. You need Mind Flay for sure. Shadow Reach, Shadow Weaving for sure, Vampiric Embrace, Vampiric Touch, Darkness, and Shadow Form. This is kind of your main Shadow talent tree. From here on, you have some flexible points. You can go Shadow Affinity for threat reduction. It's really good. Mental agility is very important for Shadow as well, because instant cast spells like Shadow or Pain counts towards mental agility. Then you want Silent Resolve, 2 points, 2 points in Power Word Fortitude. You can go one specialization, but maybe you can put another point in Silent Resolve. Inner Fire increases your spell power, and I would put Meditation. Inner Focus doesn't do that much for Shadow Priests, but if you want, you can go for that one. Meditation is just some mana helper
That's
for the Shadow
10%,
Priest.
10% of your mana regeneration to continue while casting. That's huge, also.
Yeah, that means basically your mana is regenerating during combat, because that's kind of the
Exactly.
5 second rule, right? If you're not
Exactly.
casting spells for 5 seconds, your regeneration and spirit regeneration kicks in. So if you cast a spell, then that 5 second rule is interrupted and you're considered in combat. So this kind of allows you to have that constant mana regenerations, similar like MP5, basically.
Yeah. Alright, so there.
Shadow
Yeah.
looks like this. For the new tier 3.5 set in Cara 40, you would want maybe to remove meditation and put it into fate. Because the 3 set bonus in the 3.5 set is giving fate. Fate provides a spell damage bonus. So if you're really geared, you'll already know that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how the talent tree looks like for
And
Shadow.
what will be the rotation of a Shadow Priest?
So Shadow Priests, they would want to start with Vampiric Embrace first. After Vampiric Embrace finishes your cast, then you put a Shadow Word Pain, and then you start Mind Flay and Mind Blast, and keeping Shadow Word Pain up. You do 2 casts of Mind Flay and then Mind Blast. And once Shadow Word Pain is finishing, you just have to cast it. To keep it up, you basically want to maximize Shadow Weaving on your targets when you want to pump damage, because that increases the shadow damage on your target. And don't forget using Shadow Form.
Of
Right.
course.
Keeping Vampiric Embrace on your target and starting with it allows you to regen mana and health for your party. So you're basically a mana battery and a healer, passive healer for your party.
So that will be pretty much it when it comes to PvE, guys.
Yeah.
We covered all the builds, we covered all the rotations. It's time to move for one final build, which is PvP build. But if
Okay.
you were ranking up on Turtle WoW, would you go Discipline or Shadow? Or Holy
I-
even?
Well, I would say Holy Priests are very strong in PvP. When you do battlegrounds, in a 1v1, you can, expect a healer won't beat any caster class
Yeah, but for
or
example,
anyone.
sorry for interruption. For example,
Yeah.
if tier 3 warrior, along with a shaman and a wind fury totem, comes on you as a holy priest, I mean, isn't that a little bit too shoot mechanic?
Yeah. You probably won't be able to do anything, but usually in battlegrounds, you can also go as a healer and kind of heal the party,
That's
right?
true.
So
That's
basically,
true.
your effectiveness is basically keeping others alive.
That's also
Again,
true.
you have 2 possibilities. Either you go Shadow or you go Smite. I personally would go Smite, even though Shadow would be better for PvP.
Let's cover both if you have time, of course.
Sure. I would say the Smite build is basically the same as the PvE Smite build, maybe with some exceptions, because in PvP you don't need Piercing Light. Blessed Concentration would be a better one. I would say Unbreakable Will is an important one. Inner Fire, Inner Focus. The other talents are, close to what you would use in PvE. Um, you would need Chastise to. This is your CC for your targets. You'd want Divinity, Holy Focus, Divine Fury, Spell Warding. um, Holy Reach is really powerful.
Of
Spiritual
course.
Guidance as
Yeah.
well. There are some flexible slots. You can go Blessed Recovery, although maybe that would be a bit far-fetched since you would want to deal damage. You can put 3 out of 3 in Spell Warding. You can maximize Spiritual Guidance, maybe remove Holy Reach. Um, you have some options, but I would say this is kind of your staple. You can also put one in Holy Reach and having a Holy Nova, which you can spam as Smite. It's pretty powerful because, again, it deals damage and heals yourself, right?
Exactly.
Or
Yeah.
party members. So for Smite PvP, this is something I would go for. Again, you can go some variations. Maybe you can remove 1 point here or 1 point here, but usually in PvP you want stamina, and Blast Concentration kind of helps you. If a melee jumps on you, this one can kind of give you more resistance to interruption as well as Holy Focus, so that you can continue
Casting.
casting spells.
Inner fire, improved inner fire helps also. Because
Yeah,
it gives you armor.
yes.
Yeah, yeah,
It's very important to keep inner fire
yeah.
up at all times.
Okay, so this will be 32-19, guys. Smite PvP build, and for the last one we have Shadow PvP build.
Okay, so
Let's
for Shadow, you would go Blackout, 5
Blackout.
out of 5.
Blackout is overpowered.
It's powerful, but I wouldn't say overpowered. Because mages also have a similar talent, fire mages. But yeah, I would say it's really good.
Yeah,
So Blackout improved Shadow Word Pain, um, Shadow Focus, in order to continue in the talent tree.
yeah.
Improved Psychic Stream, Mind Flay, Mind Blast, um, Shadow Weaving, Silence is very important, Shadow Reach, Vampiric Embrace. Um, this would be kind of the minimum you need in the Shadow tree. Mental Agility, again, for the instant cast spells, Unbreakable Will, Inner Fire. Here you can go Fortitude, you can go Powered Shield, to put a shield on yourself, or Meditation for mana regen. It really depends on you. Maybe shield is more powerful since you cast a shield on yourself when you PvP. So 10% bigger shield is maybe stronger. Or maybe even Blessed Concentration.
Yeah.
There are flexible slots on what you consider more important, or what your playstyle of what you want to play as. It really depends on your gear, on your playstyle, but this would be kind of baseline for Shadow PvP.
Nice. Bhutan, we are done over here. Would you like to add something specific from your experience?
Well, I would say Turtle devs are doing a good job with doing balance. It's really difficult, but so far I would say both Shadow and Smite are viable DPS builds for PvE. They both have its uses. Healing as a priest is also feels pretty good. Um, yeah, I mean, priest is a very I don't know, fun and way of playing. Really, the most important thing is to enjoy it and have fun. Um, Also, it's very important to look at other classes, explore, try out different things. Um, yeah, you can even do some meme builds. Probably they won't allow you in raids, but the main thing is just to have fun and explore different builds. And yeah,
Just play the game for the fun.
yeah,
Exactly.
play the game for the fun. And if you play other classes, whether it's paladin, mage, warrior, rogue, um, you would see similarities in rotations, talents, builds. Smite Priest, for example, feels similar to a balanced druid or a Eli Shaman, which kind of does a lot of crits. It has this rotation to keep some buffs or arcane mages. So just yeah, exploring and having fun is the most important thing in the game. You don't always need to go min max. What is the best build? There is no best build. It really is determined by your gear, by your raid composition, um,
And skill, of
it
course.
and skill, of course. I mean, not everyone is a rank 14 PvP gladiator. So, over time, once you kind of play a spec or you like some playstyle, you kind of over time gain experience, better understanding of the game, and doing a better rotation in order to maximize your healing or damage output. As a player, there are very small caveats in terms of your positioning, anticipating, for example, in PvP, anticipating what the opponent will do. You will know that if you know their class very well, what he will cast, what you will cast in response, or maybe in a raid, when a boss starts to cast a spell or he reaches a certain threshold, he starts in another phase in order to kind of position better to avoid damage or deal damage in a specific way is very important. Basically makes you a better player. It's irrelevant of the class you play, right? So I
Exactly.
would say everything comes from experience. uh, Ask people in forums, ask people in game. The community is pretty responsive, pretty good. I've had a very good experience in Turtle WoW, and yeah, shout out to Pug Lords for organizing their raids in that manner. I'm really happy being a
Yeah,
part of
you
them,
know
and
how. Yeah, you know.
and, and,
Yeah, yeah.
and the community is good, with Pugs on Turtle WoW compared to Blizzard servers, and yeah, having a good, friendly raid team is very important for your
Of course,
experience
of
as a
course.
raider and on the server. So
Well,
yeah,
you know how I like to say it. I mean, good experience comes from a lot of fuck ups and bad judgments. That's fucked
of
over
course.
there. We are
Yeah,
not
of course.
born skilled. You know what I mean. So at the end
Oh
of the
yeah, of
day,
course.
people will learn. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Um, People do ask questions. Some people don't know the fights. There are a lot of things that you can find online as guides, videos. Even from your videos, Nargo, there's a lot of
yeah,
um, topics where you new players can find valuable information. A lot of the vanilla knowledge and experience is applicable to Turtle WoW because
true,
that's the base of the game. Of course, there are differences in some caveats, but pretty much you can find builds and information that is applicable from vanilla. Uh, the Blizzard OG vanilla. But consider Turtle WoW has differences in terms of talents, in terms of items. So not everything applies, but yeah, I mean, you can find a lot of information
Yeah.
for sure.
Butan, thanks a lot for this guide, brother.
Thank you for having me, and see you on the next one. Good luck.
See you on the next one. Good luck. That will be pretty much it for this guide, guys. Hope we helped a bit. Consider subscribing, liking, commenting down below for feedbacks, etc. etc. Thanks for stopping by and cheers.